Please welcome WEF President Jamie Eichenberger.
Well, good morning, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you to the first panel for their perspective on the past 50 years of the Clean Water Act. Our last panel will discuss the future of water and the Clean Water Act. But now, between the two panels, we have a speaker who can bridge the past and the future because of her position here in the present. We're honored to have with us Radhika Fox, the Assistant Administrator for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Office of Water. Prior to joining EPA, Radhika served as Chief Executive Officer for the U.S. Water Alliance, Director for Policy and Government Affairs for the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, and the Federal Policy Director at PolicyLink. Radhika has used her 20-plus years of experience to address the most salient water issues facing the nation, including climate change, affordability, equity, governance, innovative finance, and the evolution of the One Water movement. Radhika holds a BA from Columbia University and a master's in city and regional planning from UC Berkeley, where she was a HUD Community Development Fellow. To help us celebrate the Clean Water Act and share her thoughts on the law's past, present, and future, please join me in welcoming Radhika Fox.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? Thank you, Jamie, for such a warm welcome. And I just have to say congratulations to Walt Marlowe, the Board of Trustees of WEF, the entire team at WEF. WEFTEC is back. WEFTEC is back, right? So my first time coming to WEFTEC was in 2016 when I was at the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. And ever since then, I've come back many times, and WEFTEC has always been such a wonderful place to connect with your fellow water professionals, to learn about innovative technology. But for me, WEFTEC has always also been a moment to get re-inspired for why we work in water in the first place. And so I'm so thrilled to join this discussion about the 50th anniversary of the Clean Water Act, and I love this notion of the past, the present, the future. So I just want to, again, thank you for the opportunity to join you all. And so for those of you who know me, you probably know that one of my favorite questions to ask somebody when I first meet them is, what's your favorite body of water? So, you know, when I was the CEO of the U.S. Water Alliance and I was meeting a new member, I would ask, what's your favorite body of water? When I joined the EPA and had the opportunity to meet the many amazing career leaders across the Office of Water, my first question when I met folks was, what's your favorite body of water? You know, when I was doing my kind of one-on-ones with congressional members as I went through the Senate confirmation process, which is so fraught, the question I would always ask each and every one of them is, what's your favorite body of water? And I guarantee that if you ever interview me for a job or I interview you for a job, I will ask you, what's your favorite body of water? And you know, the reason that I love asking that question is it almost always reconnects people to their why they work in water, what they're working for. It is a question that always, when I ask it, brings back a vibrant memory for people. It brings back often a positive memory with friends, family, a moment usually of ease and of peace, because that is what water does for us, right? And now you're probably wondering, what's Radhika's answer to that question? What's your favorite body of water? Well, for me, it's the Pacific Ocean, because I treasure the memories of dipping my toes in those ice-cold waters, of breathing in the clean, salt air, of being soothed by the waves crashing onto the beach. And I also, when I think about the Pacific Ocean now living in DC, I treasure the endless hours that I spent with my children from when they were babies to now teenagers, exploring all of our local beaches in our hometown of Pacifica. because there really just truly is something transformative that happens to all of us when we connect with water. And I bet if you all took a moment right now, you would think about a special memory, that special lake, that local river, that ocean, that is your answer to the question, what's your favorite body of water? And I know, like me, you want to see those special places protected from the impacts of pollution, contamination, so that our children and our grandchildren continue to enjoy our nation's waters. But as the past panel just talked about, and it's so good to see Lynn and Ben and Tony, but as they just talked about, there was a time not too long ago where our waters were virtually unprotected from pollution. It was only 50 years ago, it's not that long, only 50 years ago that our rivers ran in color. Our rivers were literally on fire because they were so polluted. Bays could no longer support crabbing and fishing. People and businesses, industry treated waters like trash cans. They were truly the dumping ground for trash, for chemicals, for animal carcasses even. But 50 years ago, the American people came together. They said our waters mattered, and they pushed Congress to pass one of the most monumental pieces of environmental legislation that we have ever achieved as the nation, the Clean Water Act. And when I think about the Clean Water Act, the North Star for me is two words: fishable and swimmable. I just want everyone to take a minute and think about that. Think about the ambition that the American people in Congress had 50 years ago to say, rivers are running in color, but no, we want the American people to be able to fish and eat from their local stream. Rivers were literally on fire, but the American people in Congress said, no, we want every family to be able to swim in their local lake. The vision of that, the ambition of that, fishable and swimmable. Now, certainly the Clean Water Act set the legal, the policy, and the funding framework for how we restore and protect our nation's waters, right? And when we think about the Clean Water Act, we think about all of the things that we've done because of the Clean Water Act. Wastewater plants, of course, providing secondary treatment, in many places advanced treatment, our ability to discharge, to regulate discharges of point source pollution, all of the things that we have done to make progress. But when I think about the Clean Water Act, I fundamentally think that the success of the Clean Water Act is partnerships. And the panel just spoke about that. So over the past couple of months, EPA has been hosting what we've been calling our Clean Water Act at 50 celebration tour. And I have had the opportunity actually to travel to many of our EPA regions, and I've asked each of our regional administrators, what's a Clean Water Act success story that you want to highlight? And it has been absolutely inspiring, because through these visits all across the country, I've really seen the Clean Water Act come to life. And it's coming to life, and it continues to live and breathe on because of the partnerships and because of the hard work of folks just like you all around the country. For example, on Friday, I was at the Boston Harbor. Now, of course, it's one of the most clean and beautiful waterfronts in this country, and people go there every day to relax next to the water, to swim, to sail. But if you think back just a handful of decades ago, the Boston Harbor was known as the dirtiest harbor in America. People were cut off from the water. And I was there on Friday with Senator Ed Markey, and we actually also visited with about 80 fifth grade students from East Boston. And Senator Markey, who has represented that district for over 40 years, was sharing this story with the fifth graders of how his parents would warn him, don't touch the water, don't go near the water. That was the reality for him 40 years ago, but because of the Clean Water Act, EPA and state and many local partners, filed a lawsuit to seek compliance with it. And a lot of hard work went into it. And today, Boston is truly, the Boston Harbor is truly a testament to the power of the Clean Water Act at work. People have returned to it. People enjoy spending, long afternoons there. And what was so interesting, those fifth grade students could not imagine what Senator Markey experienced when he was in the fifth grade. Don't touch the water. No, we swim in this water every weekend. That's the power of the Clean Water Act. On the other side of the country, I was also able to visit with many partners that were working within the Puget Sound. And there, because of the Clean Water Act, we're supporting research to understand how chemicals found in tires are entering stormwater runoff from roads and killing salmon, which are, of course, so symbolic of the health of the Pacific Northwest. And because of this groundbreaking research, the state of Washington and partners have been working to harness the power of green infrastructure to improve water quality and to reduce salmon mortality rates. I also have had the opportunity to see firsthand the progress in America's heartland, where the Kansas City and the Missouri rivers meet. These two rivers were once flush with raw sewage, industrial waste, and floating animal carcasses. And I just have to say, I didn't believe the animal carcass piece until they showed me photographs from National Geographic decades ago. But again, here too, because of the Clean Water Act, the state, local partners, EPA, have funded treatment processes, and Kansas was empowered by the act to establish a water quality vision based on their unique needs and priorities. And now when you go to the confluence of the Kansas and Missouri rivers, what do you see? You see people celebrating big moments like a marriage proposal and weddings, and to really enjoy the river and the beautiful skyline right around that. And what I want to say is, these stories are certainly stories of environmental progress, but really they're stories of partnership, and mostly they are stories about the power of people to affect change, just like all of us here today at WEFTEC. But of course, we know there's, our work is not done. There is so much more for us to do on behalf of our nation's water. So I love, again, this theme of past, present, future, because it gives us both an opportunity to celebrate what we've accomplished, and the water sector is not always so good about celebrating their successes. So we need to be celebrating those successes, but it's also a chance to really recommit ourselves to the next 50 years of progress. And you're about to hear from the future panel, and let me tell you, it is going to leave you optimistic about the future of clean water when you hear from these young people. And I'm also optimistic because, thanks to President Biden and Congress, we have $50 billion to invest through the bipartisan infrastructure law, single largest investment in our nation's water infrastructure ever. And I truly believe that that $50 billion is going to supercharge the next 50 years of progress under the Clean Water Act. And what I am so proud of is the team at EPA is not only thinking about how do we partner to invest those resources in the best way possible, but we're marrying that with strengthening the regulatory foundation of the Clean Water Act. For example, we're finalizing the Waters of the United States rulemaking by the end of this year, because we know that the Waters of the United States rule is so foundational to nearly every program in the Clean Water Act. And so we're focused on crafting a durable definition that prioritizes effective implementation in communities all across America. We're also taking action to strengthen the authority of states, territories, and tribes through our 401 water quality certification rulemaking. And we're addressing key issues like PFAS through our effluent limitation guidelines program. So we're really marrying those infrastructure investments with a strong regulatory foundation. That's how we chart the next 50 years of progress. So again, 50 years ago, we made a bet on our nation's waters, and the American people got to work. Certainly as a result of this, our water resources are better protected, and families and communities are returning to the water. But we also know that there are still too many people in this country that don't have access to clean, safe water. For example, earlier this year, I was in Lowndes County, Alabama, and there I visited with children who are growing up playing in their backyard next to straight pipes that are dumping sewage right next to their toys. In Cahokia Heights, Illinois, children are raised in homes with basements backed up by layers upon layers of sewage. So as we celebrate the success of the Clean Water Act, let us also renew our commitment. And I want to offer you a North Star for the next 50 years. For the next 50 years, let our North Star not just be fishable and swimmable, but let it be fishable and swimmable for all, right? Clean water for all. Let that be our North Star. And I know, and I'm optimistic about this, right, is because of the dedication of all of you here at WEFTEC, that in 50 years, my hope will be achieved. My hope is that all of our children, all of our grandchildren, regardless of their, the color of their skin, their zip code, or the amount of money in their pockets, that they will have clean water for all. Look, clean water progress is going to take all of us, right? And so today, you know, as you make your way through the exhibit hall, as you enjoy the fantastic technical sessions that WEFTEC is so known for, I want you to ask people that you meet, what's your favorite body of water? And when you go home, ask that question, because it brings us back to our purpose. It brings us back to our why. And when we all work together to find common ground, and when we work with common purpose, we will be able to carry out the next 50 years of progress. For that, I'm sure. So again, thank you all for your service and your commitment to our nation's waters, and happy 50th anniversary. Thank you so much.